Hello, everybody. So, this week we were given the task to analyze the Winnie the Pooh collection and to see if it meets the standards for a good children's book. Well, I read the first three chapters of the Winnie the Pooh collection, which were in which we are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and some bees and some stories, and the stories begin, in which Pooh goes visiting and gets into a tight place, and in which Pooh and Piglet go hunting and nearly catch a woozle. So, firstly, we want to break down if Winnie the Pooh collection meets the standards for a good children's book, and I think it does. From earlier in the past 2 weeks in reading the textbook, we had to read about the setting, the characters, the plot, to see what makes up a good children's book. And the setting is obviously important. But in the Winnie the Pooh, it doesn't sit at the forefront of the story. In fact, what sits at the forefront of the story are the characters and the plot. Some of the characters, are obviously Pooh, Rabbit, and Piglet. And it deeply explores Pooh and how he's a very straightforward character. He wants simple things. He wants to sing. He wants to eat. He wants to live life happily. Kind of like most kids, which is how most kids can relate to him. And then you have Piglet, who's very timid, doesn't do too many things that go off the deep end. And obviously, if we analyze the plot, we can easily look at a story in chapter 3 in which Pooh and Piglet go hunting and nearly catch a woozle, in which Piglet and Pooh go actually searching, and Pooh walks in circles a bunch of times. He can't actually find it because he's just tracing his own steps. And Pooh actually says, "I've been foolish and deluded, and I am a bear of no brain at all." Piglet responds by saying, "You're the best bear in all the world." This is it teaches the kids to be kind and loving to others, even if they're not feeling great. To not let others put themselves down. And if we look at the Burke and Copenhaver article on page 205, it states, "Books that use animals as people can add emotional distance for the reader when the story message is powerful or painful." Now, in that story I just mentioned, where Pooh is feeling foolish and deluded for tracing his own steps, and Piglet says, "You're the best," he's trying to cheer him up. And this is a great way for kids to learn how to deal with people in the future who are possibly suffering from depression or suicidal thoughts, to try to cheer them up and give them meaning. And our second task for this week was to comment on the use of anthropomorphism in Winnie the Pooh. I think the use of anthropomorphism is fantastic in this story. It gives Pooh a reason to relate to kids. It gives kids a reason to relate to him. Pooh lives in a tree, he sings, he complains, but yet he also acts like a bear where he eats honey, he's climbing trees. But then he also likes to listen to stories, something that kids like to do. It gives kids a reason to associate with him. But more importantly, Winnie the Pooh's actions give kids an understanding of how to deal with others. And I'm going to keep referencing that story where Piglet said, "You're the best bear in all the world," trying to keep Pooh lively, trying to keep him happy instead of hating on himself. And the article from Burke and Copenhaver says on page 210, "The lively animals would soften the didactic tone and ease the tensions raised by dealing with issues not yet fully resolved or socially controversial." And while yet not socially controversial, this helps kids to realize what they're possibly dealing with when a kid is depressed or doesn't know what's going on in their life, if they have problems at home, etc. The article goes on to state on page 213 that we most need to read about, write about, and talk about those things that are personally painful, embarrassing, and dangerous to us. And while kids may not fully comprehend what this means, it's important that the understanding and the basis for the understanding is put into their heads. It's very important for the development of the child that they understand that these things are going to happen to them in life, whether they're embarrassed by their other classmates or put into a painful situation. It's important that they know, or if others are put in a situation, it's important that they know that they need to be kind and loving towards each other. And I think that's why Winnie the Pooh is such a great book. The anthropomorphism that permeates this book can help kids learn a lot.